Well, it seems we got a pleasant surprise recently as the fuck out of nowhere Namco just announced Rise of Incarnates, a new 2-on-2 free-to-play fighting game coming to PCs, which a lot of people are looking at and going, wow, that looks a whole heck of a lot like Anarchy Reigns. It's totally them just making Anarchy Reigns, which I do admit that stylistically, yeah, it looks a lot like Anarchy Reigns, but in reality, it's actually Gacha Force, as in it's actually made by the Gacha Force team. Seriously. See, funny story, way back at Capcom, there was a series called Gundam vs. Gundam. And they made a couple of these, and then they used the engine from Gundam vs. Gundam to make Gacha Force, which, if you're unfamiliar with Gacha Force, it's a GameCube game that's basically best described as, well, imagine Virtual-On, except with controls that actually work on the GameCube controller. Like if Virtual-On was built around working on the GameCube controller and involved collectible toys. It was an absolute blast, and those, like, it had no advertising, but those that played it consider it, quote-unquote, the best GameCube game no one ever played. And apparently, some fans of the game are actually watching my channel, because I just found out that Game FAQs has an inbox, and I received this message, and I feel kind of bad about not addressing it earlier. Either way, Gacha Force is an awesome game. They made a few other Gundam vs. Gundam games after that, and then when they were working on Gundam vs. Gundam Next on the PSP, the team split in half, with half of them forming a company called King and working with Namco. And then when Gundam vs. Gundam Next was completed, the rest of the team left Capcom, joined King, worked with Namco in creating Gundam Extreme Versus, which the most recent entry of this, Gundam Extreme Versus Full Boost, was released on PS3 in Japan. You can try it out. And yeah, it's a lot like Gacha Force, but pro tip, do not play the game with a PS3 controller. Use an arcade stick. I actually tried to show the game to a friend using a controller, and I initially tried the game on the controller, and I was really unimpressed with it. I thought, you know, this really isn't that good of a game. Gacha Force is so much better. But a friend of mine who was like, no, dude, you gotta play Extreme Versus, and you gotta play it with an arcade stick. I finally got an arcade stick. Oh my god, it completely changes the game. Like, playing on a PS3 pad is like playing Virtual-On Oratorio Tangram with a Dreamcast controller. Like, technically, it's doable, but it is so much less fun than using an arcade stick to play the game. And the control scheme just trust me, if that one friend I showed it to is watching, next time we get together, I'm bringing the arcade stick. You gotta play it with the arcade stick. It completely changes the game, because the control scheme then makes sense, because it uses 3 different buttons. It's actually a 3-button game, but the buttons are laid out really weird, because you have to press them in different sequences on the PS3 controller. Like, on the arcade stick, it's just the first 3 buttons, shoot, melee, and boost. But on the PS3 controller, those are assigned to, like, square, R1, and L2. And there's, like, a logic behind why they did it that way. It's because you have to press them in these different sequences. But then all these other buttons are, like, shortcuts to 2-button combinations. Long story short, when you're playing it on the PS3 controller, you're sitting there going, why are my attack buttons square, L1, L2, and R2? Like, it's a really weird feeling control scheme. It doesn't make any damn sense on the PS3 pad. But when you get an arcade stick in front of you, it feels great. If anyone's wondering how, because this might be news to some Gacha Force fans, that technically the team went on to make kind of sort of more Gacha Forces. How does Gundam Extreme Versus Full Boost compare to Gacha Force? Well, honestly, I'm going to say they have their strengths, they have their weaknesses. Extreme Versus Full Boost has way more fleshed out movesets on its mechs. Like, they have way more options, and the melee combat is way deeper. They have all these little cancel options and stuff. However, Gacha Force has much better character variety, And I'm going to say that while the melee combat is worse, the ranged combat is honestly better. And I know my friends who play Gundam Extreme Versus are going to give me crap about this, but seriously, a sore point. Biggest complaint with that game is the fact that everyone has the same damn beam rifle. Yeah, it's the Hadouken of the game, but it means that the ranged combat is just pew-pew with the beam rifle. Yeah, you get, like, some special ranged attacks here and there, but it's completely different from the sheer amount of ranged spam in Gacha Force. In Gacha Force, it is almost entirely dodging projectiles and throwing projectiles. And you have way more projectile variety. And yeah, you're trying to get in, but once you get in, it's just, you dash in, you do your close range attack, it does big damage, and then it knocks them away, and then it's back to throwing projectiles. In Gundam, though, like, there's much more dashing and canceling and countering when you get in close. So I'm not really going to say one is better than the other, and I think that's a good thing, because it means that there is no way that Gacha Force is irrelevant. Like, if you're a Gundam Extreme Versus Full Boost fan, play Gacha Force. If you're a Gacha Force fan, play Gundam Extreme Versus Full Boost, but do not expect the same game. It's the same engine, they have very distinct similarities, but they are different. Now, in all this rambling, I forgot to mention the really crazy thing. King was then asked by Square Enix to make an arcade game called Gunslinger Stratos, which you might have heard of. It's only in Japanese arcades, and the controller is actually two light guns. Well, I'm not sure if they're really light guns or just guns, but two pistols that you hold in different ways to do different attacks. In short, it's practically unportable. I kind of wonder if they could pull it off with the move. Like, could the move be used as a surrogate for the pose sensing light guns? Maybe? But I don't think anyone's actually going to try that anyway. Point is, Gunslinger Stratos is almost completely unportable. It's only in Japanese arcades. It has, like, a big Japanese arcade following. Now, if you're paying attention, you've probably noticed the problem here. Gundam Extreme Versus Full Boost, super popular in Japanese arcades. I don't even know what the newest one's called. Because when they release a home version, the next expansion comes out in the arcades. That's just the way it works. So if next home version, boom, next expansion hits arcades. But yeah, so you have a Gundam versus mech game, and a crazy friggin' light gun, dashy, shooty game thing that's also very arcade-centric, Japan-centric, unhome portable. You see what I'm getting at here? These games are so Japanese-centric, they're almost unreleasable in America. I was going to say that there'd be licensing issues with Gundam Extreme Versus, but then I remember that Dynasty Warriors Gundam comes out here just fine, so a friend of mine actually had to remind me of that fact. So I don't really know why we're not getting Gundam Extreme Versus Full Boost, but I will agree that the game would see less popularity in America due to it being Gundam. I mean, I hate to admit this, because I love me some giant robots, but a Gundam's a Gundam a Gundam. Gundams all have a very similar design aesthetic, and that's part of what makes them a Gundam. But there's so much Gundam in Gundam Extreme Versus Full Boost that they just don't work quite as well as the more varied mechs of Virtualon, or, of course, the friggin' Gacha Borgs of Gacha Force. It really, if you're not, like, a huge mechaphile, or you don't have some attachment to the Gundam series in question, then you really don't care that much about these different Gundams. So yeah, they've made these awesome games, and they're practically unmarketable in the States. I'm sorry, I'm rambling a bit. But Gundam Extreme vs. Full Boost has a following in the States. In fact, it's getting some play in fighting game tournaments. It has like a Western tourney scene that's slowly emerging because it's such a great, deep, awesome mech combat game. So, Namco's looking at this, and they're going, America hasn't... and then there's like all these other games that are sort of like this, but don't get released in America, like J-Star's Victory Versus. This is very much an emerging genre in Japan, the 2-on-2 sort of virtual Ani dash around, shooty, half projectile, half melee fighting thing. Whatever the fuck a 2-on-2 arena fighter, I guess is what we're calling it. It's very much an emerging genre in Japan. A lot of people like it in Japan. There's a very good chance that it could do really well in the States. But it needs a foothold. It needs something unlicensed, a new IP, and that is what Rise of Incarnates is. It is a Western take. Not even a Western take. I take that back. It is sort of one of those aimed at a Western audience, which you can tell because it's a free-to-play PC game. Japan doesn't do PC games, alright? This is very much made to appeal to a Western audience, and that's probably why it looks like Anarchy Reigns. I mean, Anarchy Reigns definitely has a cult U.S. following. And I've said in the past that, Japanese companies shouldn't try to appeal to Western taste, but this is one of those good examples. They're not trying to cater to a widespread Western market. They're not... I look at this, and this is not Call of Duty. They are not trying to reach the Call of Duty audience. They are going, here is this genre we have. We get that it appeals to Westerners. We get that this other game appealed to Western taste. Maybe we can mix them and make some... Basically, they are still catering not to the West, but to Western fans. It's very experimental, and I'm super hyped about it. I signed up for the alpha. I'll let you know how it goes. I will say that I much prefer the more anime stylings of Gunslinger Stratos, which is much more colorful and wacky looking, and I definitely prefer how Anarchy Reigns looks. I love the way Anarchy Reigns looks. Like, to the point where I'm gonna make a weird confession. I like Anarchy Reigns. It is my favorite Platinum Games game. Not the best Platinum Games game. That's still Bayonetta. But it is actually my favorite Platinum Games game because of the single-player story mode, which I felt was really engrossing and awesome. I actually felt the multiplayer in Anarchy Reigns was kind of crap. It was fun crap, but it was kind of crap. I felt it was heavily overrated and very poorly thought out. But I love the visual style, I love the world, and I really wish it was closer to Anarchy Reigns, but I see what they're doing here. They are kind of going... I watched Maximilian's video on it. They're kind of going with an inoffensive style, something that's a little bit anime, but not too anime, a little bit Tekken, but not too Tekken, a little bit comic book, but not too comic book. They're very much hitting this middle ground. Now, obviously, in case you haven't noticed, the shtick, the reason it's called Rise of Incarnates, which I actually find funny, because, this is another reason why you can tell that it's aimed at the Western audience. The name and concept is kind of a weird parallel to that flopped EA fighting game, Rise of the Imperfects. Remember that? I think that's what it was called. The friggin' Marvel vs. EA game that everyone made fun of, and visually it was nice, but it wasn't very good. This is kind of the same thing, Rise of Incarnates. And yeah, they are like the incarnations of different deities. They can all transform into these crazy monster deity things, which seems pretty cool. Obviously, right now, we're signing up for the alpha. The alpha. So they only have 4 characters, and maybe 1 stage, maybe 3 stages is... very early in development. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this game was basically them trying to bring Extreme Versus to the States. They were like, what can we do to make it, like, I bet they actually cobbled this together over, like, a couple months. Like, just take Extreme Versus engine, port it to PC, fiddle around with what they could do to make it appeal to a Western audience. Oh, hey, we have something playable. Hey, let's launch it. I mean, it was so stealth, it was so unexpected that I really think that's what they were going with. So I'm super excited about trying that out. Now, one thing I was concerned about was the controller. Like, right now it's on PC. And Viking, the company that makes this, their games have been very controller-centric. Like I mentioned, Gundam Extreme Versus feels like crap if you're not using an arcade stick. I am not one of those guys like, you have to play fighting games with an arcade stick, but you have to play Extreme Versus with an arcade stick. It is as necessary as the twin sticks for Virtual On. Not even kidding. And thinking about it, Gotcha Force, I couldn't really imagine Gotcha Force without the GameCube controller. So their game, and then, obviously they made the friggin' Gunslinger Stratos with the light gun that you hold in different configurations. Yeah, a lot of these things are really controller-centric, so when I heard it was PC, I was like, oh crap, it's probably gonna play great, but it would be very keyboard and mouse-centric with its control scheme, isn't it? Meaning it would stay on PC and wouldn't be ported to consoles, and I gotta be honest, I'm not sure if the PC gaming audience is kind of weird, and I think the game would be much more successful on consoles. I don't know, it's in a weird state of, like, traditionally PC gamers have preferred slower, deeper, less reflex-based, more strategy-based games, while console gamers liked things that were more action Twitch-tastic, except there's been so much bleed over, like so many PC games wound up getting onto console, and so many PC reviewers were reviewing console games and putting the PC values on console that console games sort of turned into crap PC games that were then ported back to PC, causing the PC gamers to complain about the consoleization of their games, and thus displeasing everyone. At the same time, all the console gamers who really miss the Twitch action reflexy things grew up and learned how to program games or figured out how to use game-making toolkits because making video games gets easier every day, and they've been making console-style indie games for the PC. So right now, where the audience for this game is in a state of flux. However, again, I've been rambling, I'm sorry. I noticed in a video with a camera from when they did the Rise of Incarnates, like, reveal presentation, the control picture that they had below the TV screens is like an Xbox controller. Yes! Alright. Right now, the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 are basically PCs. The game is in alpha. I can't stress that enough. Alpha. It's coming to Xbox One and PS4. Mark my words. Like, as soon as it gets out of beta, once they feel it's launched, they can really make money on it, it will come to at least one, if not both consoles. Mark my words. Which I think is brilliant. That is the way you have to do it, and I'm sure that'll cause a lot of people to breathe a sigh of relief. The fact that they have that controller there. Now, mind you, we could point out that PSO2 has complete PS3 and Xbox 360 controller support, even showing the proper buttons on screen, but it's not on either of those systems. That's true. However, I know if nothing else, the PS4 is very free-to-play friendly. Like, there's a bunch of free-to-play MMO-ish games coming to the PS4, so I can see this on PS4, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was on Xbox One. And I won't lie, I would rather play it on a console than a PC. But right now, it's in alpha, and what do you fucking know? My Xbox One just turned on for no good reason. Not even kidding. I just saw the light turn on my Xbone Connect. You know, I'm talking about you next, you piece of shit. Can I just say that's kind of scary? Just, you're talking and all of a sudden the system turns on and the lights glow and it's staring at you. Fuck you. It seriously freaks me out. Seriously freaks me out. Anyway, I've said about all that I can say about Rise of Incarnates. We barely have any gameplay footage. I'm probably using Gundam Extreme Versus footage and maybe Gotcha Force footage if I can figure out where I put my data. Rise of Incarnates. Super pumped about it. Go sign up for that alpha. I'll see you there. Hopefully. Maybe. I hope I get into the alpha. Oh my god, I've rambled for 20 minutes. I'm sorry, everyone. This is Jell. This sure has been some game babbling, hasn't it? See y'all. Oh, and one more thing. On top of making, the Gundam Versus series and Gotcha Force and Gunslinger Stratos and all of that, apparently, they changed their website relatively recently, but in the past, the Biking website actually listed that the people who worked at Biking did the sprite work on Darkstalkers, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and Waku Waku 7. Seriously. That just blows my mind. Okay, not only did number one, these people work on the sprites on Darkstalkers and Waku Waku 7, but that means that at least a part of the Waku Waku 7 team is involved in Rise of Incarnates. Alright. Why the fuck not? Actually, the list of things they worked on that used to be on their website, like, it really makes me wonder what the exact makeup of Biking is, because they appear to have worked on every great game Japan has ever produced, or something. They worked on a lot of things, but okay, fine. We actually have some of the Waku Waku 7 team involved with this game. You couldn't tell by looking at it, but I'm in.